Hi, everyone. Welcome to Authors on the Air. I'm your host, James Latwell. This is part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network, and I'm very pleased today to have with us an author that you will probably know, Fiona Barton. Fiona is a New York Times bestseller, Sunday Times bestseller, so she's got some fantastic, back history, backlog on her book catalog. But her new book, Talking with Strangers, is really fantastic. So welcome, Fiona.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I got to say, I really enjoyed the book for a number of different aspects, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you have, two very strong female leads in this book, and the storyline. Where did that idea come from to craft a story that's, as intricate as this is, but also with two very strong women?
Well, I'm a great fan of female characters. I don't like, in a thriller, the woman to be the body in the ditch. So I'm interested in women. So it kind of came out of that. And I had a female detective who I had invented in the previous book. So I'd enjoyed writing her. And I wanted to give her a bit of a run for her money. So I introduced a strong woman journalist to sort of mix things up a bit. So that's how I came up with the two characters.
Yeah, and you said early on you don't want the female character to be the body in the ditch, but these aren't characters who need a man to come and rescue them either. They're both very strong, independent women.
Absolutely, yeah. We are. What can I tell you? Yeah,
lovely.
So that's why I chose to have female protagonists. Because I think you can have so much light and shade, vulnerability, but also strength, and so that's why I've gone with that.
Yeah, no, it worked very well, I think, for this story in particular. And can you tell folks that are listening a little bit about the storyline that kind of flows within Talking with Strangers?
Sure. It opens with a body being found. Yeah, nothing new under the stars, are there? But and it's about an investigation by two different women, two different investigations, really. The police one, the detective, Elise King, who is obviously looking at local criminals and reasons why the victim, Karen, would have been murdered. She's a lovely hairdresser, everybody liked her, and but what they discover is that she has been going online dating, like almost, I think it's 1 in 10, isn't it, of us now do online dating. But anyway, so very normal. But that introduces, the problem that there could be, a lot of people who have met her that nobody else knows about. And the other investigation is by Kiki, the journalist, who has interviewed the victim about online dating when you're middle-aged. And the victim told her all sorts of stuff that she wasn't going to use, but now she's been murdered. So she then starts looking into the background and what could have happened to Karen, the victim.
It's just delicious. I mean, it's a story you can really, really get into, especially when you bring both of the investigations and their different ways of getting to it. Now, with Kiki's character in particular, how much did your background as a journalist kind of inform how you created her?
Oh, it was everything. I tried to get away from these journalists, but I was a journalist for 30 plus years, national newspapers, general news, but a lot of crime and a lot of background investigations. So, yes, it's like sort of slipping on comfortable shoes when a journalist character comes along. And in my first 3 books, one of the main characters was Kate Waters, who was a journalist. So I did try not to resist having a reporter, but I thought it was important in this case because she would have a very different investigation into a crime like this. She could be much more nimble. She's not hidebound by the rules that the
Right.
police have. You know, everything is, you know, has a protocol, etc. Whereas if you're a journalist, you can just go for it.
No, I love it. I love that character. And the way you create characters in your books, the readers get engaged very quickly. These characters are nuanced. You don't do a lot of, info dumping, right? As you introduce a character, but there's something about the their private lives outside the investigations that I think inform a lot of the readers about what these two women are like. How did you go about creating that backstory for these two women?
Well, I was lucky that I had some backstory already for Elise. I'd introduced
Yeah.
her in an earlier book, and Elise is recovering from breast cancer and is coming back to work after, you know, an illness that has turned her world upside down, and coming back to a very high pressure job where
Yeah.
she's not sure that she can do it as well as she did it before because of, you know, the chemotherapy and all the different things that have gone on. So I had some backstory already. But what I liked about having Kiki as well was that, you know, they share something, which is loneliness. They're on their own. Elise, you know, her relationship broke down. Kiki's did, but they both sort of they've said, "Oh no, we're fine. You know, we don't need anybody else. We're just, you know, we're fine." And
Right.
but it's obviously, you know, loneliness is a very sort of is a strange thing that can, you know, hit you at different stages, and you think you're fine, but actually, you know, it can be very difficult. And I wanted to sort of contrast that with Karen, the victim, and
Yeah.
what she did about it. You know, she said, "I don't want to be lonely. This is what I'm going to do." And unfortunately, it didn't go well.
Yeah, no, it didn't go well for Karen, and I think using that online dating as kind of this thing that threads through the book, it was
Mm,
really kind of powerful because it kind of divided the community a little bit. I think
yeah,
some, were, oh, good for her for getting out there, and then some are almost blaming her for what happened.
yeah.
How did you kind of develop that storyline? Because it was very well done.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I talk to a lot of women who do online dating. And as I
Right.
said, I mean, it's so normal now. And there are so many happy stories, you know, people who meet the one, and that's lovely. And it's, you know, obviously it's different from when, you know, I was dating a million years ago, where, you know, you would meet people at work or at the pub or, you know, at a dance or something. It's just that isn't how it happens now. But there is judgment. And it's surprising that, I mean, it isn't an age thing, I don't think. You know, there are people who think, you know, this isn't right. You're putting yourself out there, then, you know, you're asking for trouble. Um,
Right.
uh, and it's so I wanted to introduce that because obviously this is what people are saying. Um, and it's not right, you know. I mean, it's in the same sort of thing as saying, oh, you know, she wore a short skirt, she was asking for it. You think, oh, come on,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly.
I did want to explore that and how unfair that is, and sort of look at and often it's women who are the worst at doing it. I have to tell you, at
Yeah.
judging. So yeah, but I talk to, you know, women who do this regularly, and you know, the first this is a long time ago, but the first person I spoke to about this, she had we met at a lunch, and she was saying, "Oh, I'm so excited! I've got a date tomorrow." Oh, that's nice. Yes, lovely. And she said, "Yes, we're meeting on Salisbury Plain." Well, you probably don't know Salisbury Plain, but it is a
No.
vast area of sort of common and woods and things.
Oh,
And
Lord.
she said, "He's given me the map coordinates." I said, "He's obviously an axe murderer. I mean, you know, why would you want to meet somebody in the middle of a wood?" Anyway, she thought it was very exciting, and off she went. He didn't murder her. And but I thought, gosh, you know, people are putting themselves in very vulnerable positions, and that vulnerability is obviously, you know, meat and drink to a thriller writer, really.
True, very true. Now, with Kiki and your detective Elise, I would love to be a fly on the wall if they were to sit together and just have coffee. What would that
Mm.
sound like?
Well, actually, in the book, they do have coffee once, and it's not great because Elise is trying to have control of what Kiki does, and that's never going to work. So it is sort of it's a bit of butting heads. Kiki wants to help, but she wants to do it in her own way, and she won't be told what she can and can't do. In the, you know, and that doesn't always go well either. You know, she puts she messes up, and she does things that caused real difficulties for the police investigation. So it isn't that she's like, you know, the all-conquering hero coming in and doing it. I wanted to show that, you know, I wanted to write about how these two women are both trying to do something in their own way, but in fact they're getting in each other's way, and it's a dilemma for both of them, really.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very well, and yeah, that coffee scene in the book, it was kind of fun, and I just wanted to kind of explore that a little bit more with you, but that was fun. The police procedural elements in your book are really handled quite well. I know you've written Elise before, but how did you develop that character originally? And what struck me in particular was some of the banter in the station house. Just had a real ring of authenticity to it. How did you develop that?
Well, I think I borrowed from my work as a journalist. I worked a lot alongside detectives. You know, I would often spend long weeks in court with them, and you know, they have a language, and so do journalists. So I've sort of stashed it away, obviously, in case I ever got to write fiction. But you do sort of, you pick up the rhythms and the jokiness and the terrible black humor that they have, you know, the dark humor. When things are so difficult, you know, you've got to laugh. So yeah, I think I stashed it away when I used to work alongside them. I've always enjoyed working alongside detectives and police. You know, they're fantastic colleagues. So yeah, that's what I did, I think. And I double checked. I know you have Peter James on your show. He's great police advisor, Graham Bartlett, who's writing his own terrific stuff now. He double checked to make sure I wasn't making too many errors. So yeah, I do ask the experts as well, but I do dig down into, you know, 30 years of listening to them.
Yeah, that listening and just being there and absorbing some of that. It came across in the book, and it was very effective. I thought gave Elise a little bit of texture that you might not have had from other authors who, you know, didn't have that experience and background. So I thought it was well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, what is it that you think attracts American readers to your books? Because you do have a good following over here.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful. I think they like a bit of British policing, don't they? I think it's so different. I mean, it's foreign, isn't it? It's a foreign concept. The way that the Brits do things, but the American readers seem to really enjoy it. There was a bit of a tussle with my first book where they wanted it Americanized, not in a huge way, but they wanted some of the language changed. So where I said car boot, they said trunk, or you know, candy, sweet. And I said, no, I really would rather you didn't, because I think, well, obviously my characters would never say candy for a start, but also it takes away from the Britishness of it, which is, I think, part of the reason people want to read it. So I had hilarious back and forths, because some of my cultural references just, Coronation Street and Mike Baldwin's Knicker Factory, nobody knew what they were. So we did do a bit of tinkering, but my editor was fantastic about it and said, yeah, that's fine.
No, that's great. Yeah, and I think you're right. We jump into a book with, that features, a British detective, and we want that world. We want to feel it and be in it and immersed in it. And I think, yeah, if you start tinkering with it too much, it just doesn't come off real. So, yeah.
And I don't know about you, but when I read a book, I hear the voices in my head. So if I'm listening to somebody British and they say trunk, you think, oh, hang on, no, that's not right. Yeah. So it's the authenticity of it, isn't it, really?
It is. It makes a big difference. Yeah. So are we going to see Elise and Kiki again, maybe?
Not sure. I'm working on a new book at the moment. And at the moment they don't feature. But never say never. It's very early. It's just sort of emerging from the fog in my head. So but they're not the characters that I'm working on at the minute. So I don't know. We shall see.
Okay. Good. I hope we see them again, because they are very fun characters to play around with. So we're going to end with something we call 3 quick hits, and it's just 3 questions.
Ooh.
In the kind of getting in the mind of your character. We'll have to do it twice, since you have 2 great characters here. Both Elise and Kiki, and they're easy. You're not going to have a problem.
Okay.
Let's go.
You're saying that.
What? No, it's easy. What is Elise's favorite cocktail, or her drink of choice?
Oh my gosh! Well, she's not a big drinker, as you know, but what would she love? I think a margarita, something simple and clean.
I could see that. Okay, how about Kiki? What would be her drink?
Oh, dirty martini every time.
Yeah, that fits. That fits exactly right. How about Elise's favorite music? What does she listen to?
Oh, she likes Alicia Keys. she likes she likes women's singer-songwriters. She hates jazz, and she does. There's a reference to it in the first of the books about Elise, and yes, that's what she likes. Something hard-hitting, something very feminine, female.
Okay.
But yeah,
that makes sense. And how about Kiki? What does she listen to?
Oh God, probably pop music, because she's got a teenage daughter. So I think that's probably what, Taylor Swift or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, especially with the daughter in the house. And finally, what is Elise's greatest fear?
Oh, okay. I think at this stage in her life, her greatest fear is being found out that she's not as on the ball. She's terrified of dropping the ball, because she's a senior detective. She feels that she can't fail at all. And, she has to write herself notes and reminders, because, when you've been through that horrible toxic treatment, it does things to you, and you're not always completely on top of your game. And that's her real fear, is that people will notice.
I completely understand that. And that fits with her character. How about Kiki? What is her greatest fear?
She's a mother, so that's going to be tangled up with her child. That her child will will be as difficult as she was when she was a teenager, probably. But also about being on her own, I think, about being alone. I think that's probably a great fear for her.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. Folks, we've been talking with Fiona Barton. Fiona, the author of her latest Talking to Strangers. Fiona, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
It's been great. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. You take care, and congratulations on another fantastic book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.